Hi, everybody. Before we get to another terrific interview, please help us out by subscribing. Thank you so much. Here comes that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. Excited today. I've got actress Chloe Van Landschoot with me. Welcome, Chloe. How'd I do?
You nailed it. Nailed the name.
Even with the accent, you could tell?
Even with the accent, it actually just heightened it even more.
Yeah.
Well
I had to slow myself down because I was like, get it out.
Congratulations.
All right.
You've arrived.
That's all I had, so. Thank you so much for doing the show. I've been excited to speak with you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm jazzed to see what we're going to talk about.
Well, so I wanted to start with this because I know that you're a nurse. So I was curious how a nurse got into acting. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, honestly, nursing is mostly acting anyway. Nursing is a lot of, honestly, nursing was the best acting school I ever received, because if you want to be playing human beings on camera and kind of feeling life on a screen, what better way to see it all day long from in such a spectrum. So I learned so much from being a nurse, and from my patients that informed so much of who I am as an actor. As for how I got there, I've always been a performer my whole life. I was a dancer growing up, like it was always in my bones, but I grew up in a small town, and it was mostly like go to university and get like a semi-normal job kind of vibe that the high school I went to supported. So I never actually thought like having a creative career was even possible. So I carried on, went to nursing school, and continued dancing, doing student films, all that stuff. And then I was like, I want to keep doing this. Like, I want to keep performing. And then I started taking professional acting class when I started my first professional nursing gig. And then it just became this place where I could put all my like sad little feelings from nursing. And I was like, oh wait, these are actually such a good combo. Whoa. The misery of the work I can put into other work. Cool. So then I just started realizing they worked really well together. I had a full-time job in the emergency department. Quickly realized I had to quit it if I want to do both.
Nursing can be a little bit busy.
It's chaos. It's mostly chaos.
Are you? So is that in a hospital?
In a hospital, yeah.
Yeah. That's my day job. I work for a system of hospitals here in West Virginia. I'm not doing the, like the medical care. I'm just visiting patients, but I'm in there.
No, what are you doing there?
So I'm guessing that if you're in a hospital, you've heard of HCAPS, right? So like the surveys that patients fill out when they leave the hospital. Yeah. So here in the States, it's called HCAPS. Okay. So I'm the guy that goes in and schmoozes the patient to make sure that they don't give us a bad score. That's me.
Cute.
Yeah. So I'm like a fixer. I go in and like, what's aggravating you? And then I try to fix it.
Yeah. That's supposed to be my job as a nurse, but it often doesn't go over well. So
you don't have time for that. Now, a lot of times I got to go talk to nurses, be like, so-and-so, you might have come across a little rough, maybe, which isn't an easy conversation to have.
Yeah, you're like, good luck, Gibbs.
They do not appreciate hearing from some Yahoo to tell them they were, their 800th patient for the day was a little, upset with how they handled them.
Meanwhile, the nurse is like cross-eyed on the verge of tears.
Right, yeah, because they've been there for like 16 hours straight, and I'm popping in.
Last thing they want to do is hear from HVAC that some patient's knickers are in there or not. That's
right. Well, and honestly, most of what I try to do is fix it without involving anybody else. That's why I schmooze it. But occasionally you got to go and talk to somebody. That's not my favorite part of the job.
No.
So then I take out my frustrations by podcasting.
There we go. See, we all need a creative outlet. It's the key to.
No, I think nurses, not that they get a bad rap, but they're so even with the pandemic, and as much as we're appreciating them more, we're underappreciating them. You know, because I see it. I see how hard nurses work, and a lot of times, you know, they're handling so much more than people realize. It's a lot.
Totally. It's like a persistent state of overwhelming. And I mean, the pandemic did bring to light a lot of what the profession faces day to day, but it's still hard to understand the depth of reality of what they're responsible for, what they're dealing with day to day, and what they come home with. Yeah. It's a challenging role, but again, it's taught me everything that I know as an actor, and it's a part of who I am, and I'm super lucky to be one. So
yeah. I mean, that's pretty great. When during the pandemic did you realize this isn't going to last a couple of weeks? This may take a while.
When they shut the unit down that I usually work in surgery. Like I switched from emerge to surgery, and then they shut elective surgery down to free up beds. And then I got redeployed back to the emergency department, and that's when I was like, oh boy, like this is serious.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. Yeah, it was pretty wild to be a part of that from start to kind of the tail end of it. And just like being deployed to an area that you don't really know very well was its own challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's not like emergency's not busy. That's a busy area.
Oh, it's complete chaos. And the nurses who work down there regularly are already so overwhelmed. The last thing they want is this nurse from surgery coming down to try to help them. Like, we got time for this? Like, no way. We're just in their way.
Go stand over there. Get out of the way.
Over there. Meanwhile, I'm just like trying my best to like be useful and not step on any toes.
Because there was that time when we first kind of went on lockdown that everybody was like, it's no big deal. I can do this for a week or two. No big deal. And then it just kept getting longer and longer. And finally, everybody just went kind of stir crazy.
Yeah, totally. And then the nurses just got burned out.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah.
I know. So what was the first role acting wise that you got, once you made that decision to try it out?
My very first acting job was a Chapman's ice cream commercial when I was 13. And I had to sing the Lollipop song while hula hooping at the same time. And that was my first.
That's impressive.
At age 13. So that's on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it.
Once you figured out that you could sing and hula hoop at the same time, were you like, I'm gonna be a star?
I'm gonna make it. I've got it going on. No, at that point, I don't know. Commercials are a little bit of a different thing. And
right.
I was just doing it for fun, mostly. Again, still at that point, didn't see it as me making a life out of it. But here we are. Things started to shift when I started to nurse, and I started to get. I'm a sensitive little egg to begin with, and nursing is a lot of other human emotion that you're navigating, plus your own. There's a lot. So acting really started to become a form of almost therapy for me. And I was like, I need both of these things totally in my life in order to fully function.
Yeah.
So then the parts I started booking kind of aligned with that as well. And again, I found a position that allowed for the flexibility of how the film and TV industry works. And they were very supportive of my other endeavors. So it just started to work. And there wasn't like a specific role per se. It was more, it just started to evolve into this life that allowed for me to have both.
Yeah, that's pretty great. What are your, what's the reaction from your coworkers, especially now that you're on a series? What, are they watching it, or they just be like, it's Chloe?
Well, it's actually mostly, there's Chloe, because they're just so used to my antics. But no, they were so excited for me, and they gave me such a lovely send off because we shot in another province for 6 months, so I had to leave. And they got me like a little gift and threw me a tiny party, and I cried and cried and cried. And I was like, oh my God. I felt so awesome to have such a supportive group of people who have been slumming it since the beginning of the pandemic and still have the wherewithal to send little Chloe off to her filming adventure. Yeah. The problem is though, it's not available to watch in Canada right now, which is super frustrating.
I had heard that. Is that going to, I mean, I'm assuming would it still air on Epix? Is it Epix that's not in Canada?
No, Epix isn't in Canada, no. I think
No.
they're still trying to figure out how they're going to distribute it internationally. But I have a couple coworkers who found some bootleg versions that they've been sending in my like WhatsApp hospital group. Some people have seen it, but yeah, it's been a bit of a ride for sure.
I think that's so strange because we talked to a lot of actors that are in Canada, and a lot of times their shows aren't showing over there. I think it's so weird.
Yeah, I think it's distribution rights. I don't know. The business people deal with that.
I'll make some calls.
The business and I don't know. Everyone owns each other. I don't know how it works. I just show up.
I'll use some of my patient experience skills, and I'll make some calls, and we'll get that worked out.
And then you need to show them your backdrop, and then I think you'd be able to get whatever you want.
Really?
If you show them that backdrop, yes, correct.
All right, done. You know, when I'm in hospital mode, you take a lot of, you know, we've been doing Zoom calls instead of face-to-face meetings, and every time I have to remind myself to turn the background off. Yeah.
But I love it. I don't think you should.
I don't know if it would go over in the, you know, the hospital meetings. Maybe it would.
I think you should try. You might be surprised.
Mm.
Chloe
said.
Chloe plays Christy on Epix, said to leave it up.
She promised me it would go over well.
You can blame me fully. I'll take the hit.
So I started watching From.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chicken. So I was worried. I was like, I don't know, you know, if it's too bloody, I'm out. I have trouble with that. But it turned out it was just creepy and scary. Yeah. So it's so well written. It's so good. It's so good. So tell me a little bit about how that role came about. You know, how'd you get that role?
Oh man, it was crazy. Actually, a year ago tomorrow, my agent sent me the audition. It was like, hey, Epix is doing this new show called From. Casting wants to see you for the role of Christy. I think this is great for you. She's a third-year med student, blah, blah, blah. So I literally auditioned for the part like before a work shift. Like and this was like peak pandemic. Like I was back in Emerge and I was like, oh my God, like, I was just so in a different mode at that point.
Yeah.
Like, so I went on a Zoom call before work to audition and thought like just went to work, didn't think anything of it. Really liked the part, but like didn't get attached because it's just very rare you actually get the thing. And then a week later, they're like, they want to see you for a network test. I was like, what? I was like, excuse me? Come again? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay. All right. Never had a network test in my life. Didn't even really know what that was. Like,
right.
Okay. Googling network test. Usually they happen in LA and it's a big thing and they fly you down and you sit in a room full of people who are also going to the same part as you. But because of the pandemic, I had a network test from my living room. Put out my backdrop.
What do you do? What do you do in a network test?
Basically, the showrunner, the director, the execs.
Oh, no pressure.
Studio people are all on a Zoom call with you.
So it's like a panel interview.
It's like a panel, yeah. And then you run your scenes with the director, and you just kind of vibe back and forth. And yeah, it was hilarious to do it from there's something calming about doing it from my own space. Like it took a bit of the pedestal-y allure away, and it helped to ground me a lot. Like I had my bed sheet up and I'm like, hi guys.
Would you have got the role if you had to do it in person?
I have no idea. I think.
What's your gut tell you though?
What does my gut tell me?
You've nailed it?
I think my nerves would have been in way more overdrive, but I think I would have found my way still.
There you go. You were meant for the role.
I think these parts, what I learned from this experience, and especially seeing who got hired and working with this cast, everyone is their character in some capacity, which is amazing to watch and makes the show so watchable because everyone's just living it instead of doing schmacky acting things. They just hired a group of people who complement each other really well and are simply their parts.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. I think if, not that I could be an actor, but if I had to do that, it'd just be a disaster. I'd be a nervous wreck. I would be the guy that, like, I would sit down and they would just look at me and say, "No, thank you. We've made a mistake." And be like, "Okay, sorry to bother you."
Well, that's how I feel on the inside, but the key to acting is just now showing that. No, I was a nervous wreck always, constantly, the whole time. But it was also incredible. And the John Griffin, the creator, so incredibly wonderful to work with. Like, we worked pretty well together trying to figure out that RV stuff. Once they found out I was a healthcare provider after I got the part. So they trusted me a lot to make some adjustments to the script so that it maintained the level of medical accuracy. So to have that collaboration off the top just really set the tone for the type of show that was going to be made, and I felt so supported.
Did that help you relax too? I mean, it would me, like, if I felt like I was contributing a little bit, I'd relax.
Yeah, I really felt like we were a part of something we were creating together. I wasn't just someone who was hired to play a thing. Like, John was so supportive and interested in us really helping to shape what it was we were making. And Jack Bender, incredible director, so instinctual in how he directs, very interested in what humans are doing, not what the actor is doing. So it was all really collaborative and so aligned with how I typically like to work. So yeah, it was like net positive experience for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
And being able to pull from those skills you learn as a healthcare provider, how emotions and things sit and what you take on, and let that just breathe into Christy, felt pretty effortless because you just kind of let it.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Yeah. If you had to describe the show, how would you do that?
It's like if reality had actual monsters. Like if monsters actually existed, that's what it would probably look like, because everyone is so grounded in how they're reacting that I think it's a bit of a lens into what would happen if we were in some sort of post-apocalyptic or monster-y situation. I don't think it's a far cry from how we would function as a society.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's for me, it's got that Lost vibe to it, because you become really invested in the characters, but it's a mystery. You're trying to figure out, where are they? What the heck is going on? Why does certain things work? How did something get there and seem to function when they're not connected? What's actually happening? That, to me, that had a little bit of a Lost vibe to it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, the creators are all pulled from Lost as well. So it makes sense that there's that undertone to it as well.
I had a feeling. I told my son, who does the podcast with me, I was like, I bet you there's a Lost connection.
Yeah. Yeah, like Jack Bender directed, I think, like 37 episodes of Lost. Harold Perrineau was on Lost.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, besides that one, that's the obvious connection. But, oh, man, what an actor. He's so good.
Oh, I adore him. He's a gift of a scene partner, too, and a human being. Just such an exemplary leader, and so kind and caring, and will really ride a wave with you in a scene, which is just, the biggest gift any actor can give their scene partner. Yeah, he's incredible to watch and just so compelling. And I'm feel very lucky, and I've learned so much from both working with him and just watching him and admiring him.
So do you know what's going on?
We have no clue. Like the writers are like, no way, man. You know as much as your characters know.
I've got it. So it's, I think it's, if I remember right, it's supposed to be somewhere in Central America, somewhere.
Yeah, in Central America, not Central actual America, but United States.
Yeah. So right. So it's got that lost feel. So people are that when you go online, there is it a purgatory type of place, right? A lot of people think that. I don't think that's it. That's too easy. That's too easy.
That's a cop out.
It's too easy. But I wonder. What do you think? No, you go ahead.
I don't think it's a purgatory. I think everyone is there for a reason, and there's some sort of overall lesson that everybody in this town needs to learn, and that's why they're there. I don't think everyone's dead. I think they're put there for a reason in order to learn something that they needed to learn in order to move on with their life. That sounds pretty good.
That sounds really good, but then the question is, well, who's putting them there?
Well, that I don't know, but that's exciting. I guess we'll find out later.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Because I have heard, it must be, you hear about lost cities. It must be a lost city that they're crossing into some way, or maybe it's they're still in the same place, but it's like displaced in time or displaced to a different, dimension, something like that. I don't know.
That part I buy, but the rationale as to why they're there is they're each of them are required to learn something.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
So what's Christy got to learn?
Oh man, Christy's got to learn how to buckle up. I mean, she's going to be a healthcare provider, right? And this is
he's kind of the healthcare provider in the show.
The only healthcare provider, and I think there's a lesson to be learned in how to navigate human life and humanity in order to be a successful and empathetic physician. So she's put there as the ultimate test in order to learn that. I think.
I like that they've kind of developed her characters went along. I think the newest episode was episode 8. I watched it yesterday. And I like that, as it goes along, you're learning a little bit about her background. She had a significant other that she's, away from. Yeah. But now she's got this whatever's going on with Kenny. I mean, poor Kenny, we got a little bit of time left. Is she going to help this guy out, or is, because obviously he likes Christy.
Yeah, and Christy likes Kenny too. I mean, when you're trapped in no man's land and no woman's land and no people's land, you kind of rely on each other and you crave human connection. It's the most human thing to have is connection. And I mean, she's not going to deny herself that. She's a human being. But again, it's also a test, I think, too, in some capacity. So we're constantly being tested.
I'm rooting for Kenny. I'm like, hang in there, Kenny. He's had some down spots so far, but I'm like, hang in there, Kenny.
Hang in there, Kenny. I agree. I'm with you. They're connected.
So how many episodes are in the first season?
10.
That's what I thought. I'd heard somebody say maybe 13, but I thought it was 10. So we got 2 left.
2 left. Yeah. Some of these things will be answered. Some of them won't be.
Yeah, there's a lot to wrap up. We're finally, because of the flashbacks, we're starting to piece together some of how some people have gotten there to the spot they're at. But we still don't know why things work a certain way. Still a lot to learn.
There's so much to learn. So much for all of us to learn. God bless the second season. And yeah, I mean, that's the kind of brilliance of John's writing.
There has to be a second season.
I know. Let's get it. There's just he just gives little like crumbs here and there that just keep you wanting more. And it's been so fun to like read the Reddits and the from Facebook groups and stuff and just see people's theories. Like people have like,
do you have a favorite theory that you've read? Whether or not it's true, you got one that you kind of liked?
I mean, there's a lot of them where like they're already dead, and I'm like, that's too easy, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's too easy.
Yeah, no one's come up with anything revolutionary yet, but I think it's coming, and I'm excited to read it.
I know. It would have disappointed me if you knew already. I think if I was an actor, it'd be more fun just to find out with everybody else.
Yeah, and that's how they're going to keep it. They're not telling us anything, which is cool because then all your performances are just in real time to what's happening to your character instead of like trying to get somewhere.
Yeah. So if you had to hide every night, you had to hide out from whatever the creature is, how long would you actually last?
I mean, we kind of did that this year with the pandemic. Like I really equate this show to what we've been dealing with. That's why the show's so mind-blowing, because it's so aligned with what the entire world has gone through for the past 2 years. We did have to be inside. We were forced to be inside because of a microscopic monster that was going around and killing people, which is just as threatening. So that's why I'm just like, the show is like a reflection of our time. In like
it's just given the microscopic and giving it
they just made them for TV. Yeah. It's just a different kind of so I mean, I think I think we can give humans a bit of a thumbs up that we have the capacity to do what is necessary for some time until we start to crack, which started to show as well in real life here on planet Earth. As for
it sure did.
But I think people can follow the rules to a certain degree, and then
I'd like to say that I would last a while, but I know me, I would make some stupid ass mistake, dead. I'd be doing good, everything's fine, and then I would just do something stupid, not thinking, dead.
What do you think that would be?
I don't know. I'd throw out the idol or something, cleaning the house and just throw it out.
Oops, we don't need this anymore.
They're in the house. How did that happen? Let me go dig through the trash. Yeah.
You need that in order to survive.
Could see that happen.
Totally. Probably.
But I mean, they seem to have supplies, I mean, if you were stuck in just a little area, at some point the supplies would run out, but they seem to have supplies.
But so did we as a collective.
With a few exceptions.
But yeah, I mean, there's supply until there's no longer. And for now, they have it. So we'll see what happens when that supply runs out. If it does, who knows?
Oh, if it does?
We're early days. We don't know. But
have you made friends on the cast?
Oh God, yeah. We became a family for sure. I mean, we all relocated to Halifax for 6 months. So we all became quite close quite quickly. And because of the pandemic, we weren't allowed to leave. We couldn't really have family or friends come visit. So we kind of all became each other's support system, which was really, really nice to have. And there's about 13 of us series regulars, and like we'd have like Thanksgiving together and like celebrate everybody's birthdays. And
do you have a group text?
We have a group text.
All right.
Called Fromily. It was just really nice. So when you ended up performing with them on set, it was just, you just cared about everybody automatically. So the acting just became effortless because you're just with these people that you actually deeply care about, who are your
we have Hannah coming on next week.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's really good. She does a really good job.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a talented. Like, I'm excited for her future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's very talented, but it's been fun watching her character develop as well. Cause she's she comes early. She's like a little spoiled bratty, but then she's starting to develop as the show goes on.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she'll keep developing. Teenagers are funny. Yeah. It's fun to watch Julie come into her own and figure it out.
Yeah. So is there a role or a genre that you haven't done yet that you would like to do?
I would love to do a space movie. Like, I want to be in space. I just want to be in space. And I don't know what I want my role to be in space, but I want to float around in space. And that's what I want to do.
You're my first, that's the first time I've had that answer.
Yeah.
I want to be in space. Yeah, I like that. I'm a sci-fi guy. I like that.
But I don't even know if it's gonna be a sci-fi movie. Maybe it's a rom-com. Maybe it's.
I guess that's true. Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be sci-fi.
Like a space Hallmark. How hilarious! How interesting would that be? A Hallmark movie that takes place in space. That's what I want to do next.
I think we need to write this. It's going to be like a Hallmark Christmas movie, but in space.
In space.
You know, lonely astronaut, you know, just horribly inept at love while on Earth, but somehow makes a connection in space.
Yeah. And we watch this space relationship unfold for an hour and a half.
Oh, see, what if they go to space and they have this connection stuff, but then when they get back to the real world, then the problems start.
Really?
And they split apart, you know, once they get out of their bubble, and then we have to wait for them to get back together.
Yeah. And then
there you go. Rom-com.
Yeah. And then we're setting ourselves up for space too, because they break up. And then in space too, they try to get back together.
Oh yeah, what if they come back, they split up, and then they have the opportunity to go back to space, but one of them's like, I can't go. Well, I can't go with them.
That's a better plot point than I can.
But then at the very end, they show up to go to space. You know, because that's what astronauts do. Is they just show up and they're like, well, you're an astronaut, so jump on.
So jump on. Come on, we're going to space. I think we're on to something.
It's a hit.
I'll call
call your people.
You call yours.
I'll call mine. We'll pound this out.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to write a show right now with one of Liz Saunders, who plays Donna.
Oh, yeah.
We came up with this. I was camping in Halifax and met this like group of girls. And one of them worked at a nursing home for nuns, like specifically nuns. And she was a nursing student. So she was telling me all of these stories about the antics that go on at this nursing home for nuns. And I was like, oh my God, this is a television show. So I went and told Liz Saunders, and she's like, oh my God, this is a television show. So she came up with the name Broads of God, and we want to write this show about a nursing home for nuns.
I want to invest in this show. So you call me when it's ready. I will be that silent producer type.
Yeah. Wow, we got a lot of phone calls to do, don't we, Mike?
Oh yeah. We'll be burning up the phone lines, but that's a great idea.
Yeah. And there's just so much that happens there. And specifically nuns with dementia too. Like, so interesting.
So is it going to be kind of comedy drama?
Like dark comedy.
Yeah.
Like dark comedy vibes. Yeah. Just all the humanity and heartbreak and humor that goes on and in care facilities. It's quite something. And I haven't seen a show that's really kind of showcased that in an honest way. So,
right.
Yeah. Something there.
I think that's really good. Have you written before, or is this your first attempt at it?
I've written. I'm in post-production for my first short film that I wrote.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's been very exciting.
Are you in space?
Am I in space? I wish I was in space. No, because I'm gonna be in space for the Hallmark space movie.
All right.
I gotta save my space.
You don't want to get typecast.
I don't want to get typecast as
No.
space girl. You're right. No, this one's about externalizing the internal life of a nurse using movement and dance. So there's no words.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we just kind of watch her exit her mind and enter her body as she comes home from work. Yeah.
So are you seeing it through her eyes, or are you watching her?
Both. Yeah.
Well, I like
kind
that.
of from voyeuristic lens and then from her perspective as well. Yeah. So we're just finishing that up and hoping to submit it to some festivals, and we'll see what happens.
Well, it's exciting. Make sure you get it into Sundance if you haven't been to Sundance. It is a lot of fun. It's so cold, though. Dress warm. It's probably not any worse than Toronto, though.
Yeah. Utah. Yeah, Sundance would be a dream to go to, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Exciting. It's been fun to make stuff for sure.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So I know we got to wrap up. During the, when we were kind of isolated, of course, you were pretty busy during that time, but did you binge anything? Did you have a show that you're like, this is the show?
I binged BoJack Horseman.
That is a good show.
And I had like a bout of like bad depression in July of 2020, like when it was the peak pandemic, and I was just like so burnt out from it all. And then I just doubled down with BoJack Horseman, and that's what I did.
Good one, because it's a funny show.
But it's also deeply sad, so it has a balance of I was looking for in order to feel semi okay.
And it has a surprising number of episodes. 6
seasons.
I know. Like I've watched that, and I think when I started, it was like, I don't know, 3 or 4. It was on season 3 or 4. But I was like, I couldn't believe it had that many, and then it just kept going. Pretty good.
One. And then Tiger King too. That was the other one.
Everybody watched that one.
Watched Tiger King.
Did you watch the second one though?
No.
No, nobody watched that. No, I didn't either. Everybody watched the first one. It's like the second one came out. I haven't heard anybody even mention it.
Yeah, because we're not locked out anymore. So people are more selective in things they're watching, I think.
Yeah. It was pretty good for being locked up.
Very good TV. I was engaged.
It was entertaining. Yeah. It was pretty good.
It was quite something.
Well, Chloe, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time. This has been the best. You're our favorite character. We love you so much on the show.
Oh my God, really?
I hope you survive.
I hope so too. Christy, gotta keep it together for the kids.
Well, yeah. What are they going to do if they lose their medic?
I don't know, but that would be an interesting season of good TV. I hope they don't Game of Thrones any though.
No. We don't want any of that. So a couple of things before you go. Outside of your writing, anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I'm actually planning an event for healthcare workers in the arts in May. I mean, I know you're in West Virginia, but if you have any Canadian listeners, we're holding a showcase for healthcare workers who are creators as an opportunity to share what they do outside of health. Yeah, so
that's really cool.
And to encourage other healthcare workers as a creation and creativity and expression are such fundamental parts of healing. And I think now that we're coming off of the major bulk of COVID, I think a lot of healthcare workers are going to be sitting with their feelings sometimes for the first time. So encouraging creation and all of that can really, really do numbers for how to heal and move forward.
I think it's really important, especially for healthcare workers that have been, a little exhausted over the last couple of years.
Yeah, totally. Burnout was huge. I mean, I felt it. I can't even imagine what people who've been doing it for full time since the beginning must be at. So having a place to express and share and make stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at ChloVLS, CHLOVLS. And then my Instagram handle is the same as well.
Very nice. Very nice. That makes it super easy. I found you on Instagram. You were really easy to find on there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I have the same handle on Twitter. I just got Twitter. Twitter isn't like a huge thing in Canada. But
yeah,
the network was like, Twitter.
Well, yeah, you need it to promote.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how big of a thing it was. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like 100 people on there.
That's how many followers I have. 100.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. But they're dedicated.
They're dedicated fans. But yeah, that's been fun to navigate how to use Twitter and all that stuff. Lots of new things.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much. And we have to do this again. When they announce season 2, we got to do it again.
Let's do it again. Maybe we'll have our first draft of space.
Yes. Yeah, that's even better. When you get that ready, you got to come back and talk about it.
I also love how we're calling it just space.
Space.
Space the movie.
Next on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. I can't wait.
I mean, you could call it Christmas in Space. I think it needs to be a Christmas movie.
A space wonder, room for space. There's a lot of.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it for sure.
Yeah. All right, Chloe, hold on one second. Well, how much fun was that? Chloe Van Landschoot. No doubt we're going to hear a lot more from her. So talented, and it's just terrific that she's still doing the nursing. That's really commendable. If you haven't watched From, you are missing out. That show is awesome. Absolutely bingeable. 8 episodes of 10 are out currently. You can watch it on Epix. So definitely check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. One thing we try to do on this show is when new shows come out, especially ones that have that kind of nerdy tie, we really try to get some of that cast on the podcast to kind of highlight some of these, maybe slightly hidden gems. From absolutely amazing. So definitely check that out, and I hope you're enjoying the interviews. You can help us out if you haven't yet. With our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod, we could really use your subscription. So if you would do that, that would really mean a lot to us. You can find all of our episodes. I think we're in the 360 range, something like that. Audio and video on our website, meistercon.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we are going to cover a convention, all that will be on the website, meistercon.com. So check that out. Thank you guys so much. Thanks to Chloe. Bye, everybody.